Hello and welcome. You're watching Cricbuzz Live. It's another day in this T20 World Cup 2022. It's another day filled with a lot of exciting games. Yes, two of them. Ireland take on England in Game 1 at the MCG, and then Game 2, New Zealand take on Afghanistan at the same ground. Now, I think we're all still hungover with that last MCG encounter in this T20 World Cup, which means we've got to do and talk a little more about that, and then perhaps a little more about this game as well. And to do all of that, we've got Zaheer Khan on the show with us. Zach, welcome along. And this MCG pitch has been, well, it's been tricky. It's not been like the usual conventional MCG pitches of the past.
Well, not just the MCG pitch. I think pitches overall in this tournament have, in a way, set a trend that there will be fast bowlers involvement quite a lot in particularly those early overs. There will be some movement for sure. And as the game goes along, maybe 6-7 overs, things get easier for batter. I think it's to do with the weather conditions. I think it's still early part of the season. The wickets are fresh; they've not been used that much, so there's enough moisture in that. Plus, the overhead conditions also help. The sun has not been out and in that much time. So those are the conditions and situations does affect the pitch behavior, and that's what we are seeing in this tournament. So I think bowlers will be very happy, and you'll see the teams adapting to this as well. Most of the teams you've seen with Pakistan, they were just playing with 5 bowlers, 2 spinners. It wasn't easy for them on that day. So I think on this pitch, it's not going to be that easy at this time of the year for spinners. So I think 4 seamers. Ireland also will be looking to do something like that.
Yeah.
They also used to playing in these sort of conditions, having playing 11 stack up, having those all-rounders who usually are those dibbly-dobbly bowlers, as they call it in England. So yeah, I think that has been the case.
Yeah. So England have won the toss, opted to bowl first. Zaheer Khan is on his mark. He's ready. But at the other end, taking guard on Cricbuzz Live is Mr. Michael Vaughan. Welcome along, Michael. How are you doing?
Hi guys, it's a little bit early here in the UK. So let me just have a look. 4:45 in the morning, or just coming up to quarter.
That's a very early morning.
It's nice to be up bright and early.
It is, yes. And England have won the toss, opted to bowl first. In these conditions, as we were just discussing with Zach as well, Michael, this MCG pitch seems unrecognizable from the conventional MCG pitches of the Australian summer.
Yeah, I totally agree with Zach. I think conditions over the last few weeks in Melbourne have been a little bit damp. I believe there's a bit of rain around today as well. So no surprise that England want to have a ball first. I'm sure there will be some movement. I was there for the Ashes Test match last year on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
I've never, ever seen an MCG pitch like it with so much grass in it. So maybe they're just trying to change a little bit of the way that the MCG pitch is played. It's been quite a dull, boring pitch for quite a while, so maybe they're bringing a bit of life into it. There's certainly going to be movement, as we saw in the India-Pakistan game. I have to admit on Cricbuzz, I put it on social media, it is the biggest game in cricket.
that is
I've wound you up for years saying England-Australia is the biggest game, but the spectacle of that game, India-Pakistan at the MCG the other day, was absolutely incredible.
That it was. As we were just discussing, that we're still hungover from that game. But England have won the toss in this encounter and have opted to bowl first. Let's have a look at their playing 11, if they've made any changes at all from the last game against Afghanistan. And they haven't. And Zach, you'd say this is on expected lines. I mean, that game, the bowlers did their job, the batters did theirs too. I mean, they did take a little more time than you would have expected. But apart from that, it was a good game for them.
Well, that's how good teams plan. Good teams plan well in advance. The lead up to the World Cup, they will have chopping, changing. But once you are in the tournament or closer to that, you like to stick to your playing 11. You like to have that stability. You want to give the player their space as well in terms of preparation and getting ready for a big tournament. You would expect that from England. So you will not see a lot of changes. They will stick to that unless a tactical change is required looking at the conditions, or someone is really not in form to make that pivot, as we often call about in tournaments like these. Other than that, I think England is just going to stick to their processes, the brand of cricket which they've been playing, which has been very aggressive. Yes, in the first game they've been a little on the cautious side, But going forward, you will see them peaking at the right time is what is expected of them. You often speak about the momentum, so they are just working towards that. Okay, because this group is a tricky one. Unlike India and Pakistan, South Africa group, where that those 1 or 2 games are very crucial. I think in this group, you can see some upset. So you got to be watchful against a certain team. But Afghanistan, they've managed to put aside. Now it's Ireland, because Ireland is one team that can cause upset. So they got to be watchful.
I can hint a bit of a sledging there. Ireland can cause a bit of an upset on a day of Ireland versus England game. But Michael, the last encounter that England played in versus Afghanistan, now when they had 113 to chase down, everyone expected with that sort of a powerhouse batting attack, you'd get it done in no time. And yet they took 18.1 overs and lost 5 wickets. What did you make of that performance?
I just think you've got to be realistic. You're at the start of the World Cup and you need to get a win. I always, when you look at these kind of groups where, I'm not disrespecting Ireland and Afghanistan, but the top teams would expect to beat both those sides. There's a banana skin playing Ireland today, but when you play them in the first game, you do want to get that first win. If you play them later down the tournament, you're almost knowing what you need to do, and a net run rate, without any question, will come into play. I just hope England don't look back at that first game and wish that they'd gone a bit harder to get the game done a bit quicker, with a bit more force to get the net run rate a bit higher, because playing the 2 lesser teams in your first 2 games, of course, you might get off to 2 wins, but you might just think about the win rather than the net run rate, where further down the tournament, you might know that net run rate is more important and you can play a bit more aggressively. It was very unlike England. England for years and years, in the world have seen, have played a very aggressive game with the bat in hand. So, you've got to give Afghanistan a huge amount of respect. They bowled nicely. Their spinners are world class, and they made it difficult for England. But I was slightly surprised that England didn't go for it a little bit more.
Yeah, you're right. And Joss Butler had the same sentiment even after the game. He said that at the start of any major tournament, you have those nerves. And we really wanted that W against our name. We really wanted those 2 points. And that is what they got. They got there eventually. Let's have a look at Ireland's playing 11 as well. Let's see if they've changed anything from their last defeat against Sri Lanka, which was a heavy one. Fionn Hand comes in. But apart from that, the playing 11 largely remains the same. And the focus has to be on Ireland's batters, Zach, because the batters haven't really got going. The bowlers have still done their job, and they have a handful of all-rounders as well. Curtis Camphor is one of them, but the batters haven't just put the runs on the board.
When you're batting first, it's all about putting those runs on the board. Yeah. Once you put those runs on the board, you're giving yourself that chance of putting the other team under pressure. And sometimes chases can get tricky and nervy, as Joss was mentioning after the last game. Yeah. If you score 160 plus, then you can always put any team under pressure in these kind of conditions. Looking at Ireland's bowling attack, also they are well placed with their options of bowling. Delaney is someone who's been very good in the middle overs. Joshua Little has been very consistent. So the main important thing is to put runs on board. And in the previous game against Sri Lanka, you saw them playing in the back V. So they need to force the issue a little bit. I know it's not going to be easy when you have the likes of Mark Wood running at you, yeah. But you still got to figure things out. I just felt that they were kind of trying to use the pace too much. So you shouldn't get into that preset mindset when you approach the game. When you hit those shots which are actually in mid-off region, you actually put doubt in bowler's mind also, to pitch the ball up. So that's something which I hope they've done their homework, and that's something which I want to see from this game. Even though the bowlers are bowling at 145, you still got to figure out if you can force the issue and put the pressure back on the bowlers. When you're just looking to use the pace, it's not always going to work for you. Some you're going to nick, you're going to lose wickets, and it's a defensive mindset. So I think they need to change that.
Now the pitch report, Michael, from MCG is that it's a fresh track. It has some moisture in it. The bowlers will enjoy it. But I want to ask you first, you watched that England-Afghanistan game. Would you have liked facing, hand to heart, would you have liked facing Mark Wood with that kind of pace, 140 plus every delivery?
No.
He was impressed.
No, He's becoming a pivotal figure for England. When you think that Jofra Archer is coming back from an injury, but it's going to take a few more months. Ollie Stone, who bowls around 90 miles an hour, he's had a real big injury. He's coming back from injury. So throughout this World Cup, throughout the next few Test matches that England play in Pakistan and New Zealand, England need that difference, that point of difference, particularly on the better wickets with the Kookaburra ball. And he's been a revelation since he come back. He's had loads of injuries over the years, but when he's in the team, you can just see the difference that he makes, and you can see whoever's captaining him, whether it was Owen Morgan, Joe Root, now Ben Stokes, is desperate to get him in the Test team. Josh Butland with the white ball team. They've got a cheeky smile on the face when Mark Wood's in the side, because you ask all captains what you want. You want that point of difference, someone that can get the beans of the opposition batters going. And Mark Wood's certainly doing that at the minute.
That he is. And Joss Butler, even after the last game, he said that I actually enjoyed keeping to Mark Wood because there was an instant feedback. I knew instantly what pace the ball was bowled at. And especially in these conditions, Zach, I mean, this is again a fresh pitch at the MCG. There's a lot of moisture. The kind of bounce that he gets, the kind of pace that he generates can be scary for any batter.
And also the intent. You can see from those numbers that the intent is always to take wickets. 14 matches, 27 is a very good ratio of wickets per match. So that is a luxury to have for any captain. You've seen in any format, when you pick wickets, you have an instant impact on the run rate. And that is something which Mark Wood has been providing for the team. So if he's in this mindset with this kind of intent, running in hard, looking to bowl quick, not really playing the format, isn't it? In this format, you see all the bowlers talking about the slower ones. You start talking about the variations. Yeah. But it's a old-fashioned bowler's approach to just hit that length hard. Maybe trouble the batters with pace, bowl that really full delivery to knock the stumps out, or knock the head out. So that kind of approach.
That's always too fast bowler.
Always great to see. And when the pitches are assisting, it's even more delightful to see all those kind of spells. So yeah, so for England, I'm sure it's a luxury right now to have someone with that kind of wicket taking approach.
Yeah, and there are good chances that Mark Wood may just go for the head, because last time around, at this time of the year, there was a game at the MCG with fresh pitch like this one, and a lot of batters got hit on the helmet. Mark Wood wasn't bowling in this game. He is bowling in this game, but that's going to be for later. But the one question that's surrounding England team, apart from all the obvious ones, Michael, is the fact that it's the Ben Stokes question largely. Now, he doesn't play ODIs anymore. He is a bona fide Test match legend, but in T20s, he didn't play for a while, and apart from that as well, those T20I numbers for Ben Stokes just don't do justice.
No, I mean, he's yet to get a 50, which is remarkable for a player with so much talent and power. I do think Ben Stokes wakes up most mornings and he prefers Test match cricket to white ball cricket, even though he's very, very good at white ball cricket. He's just retired from the 50-over team. You've also got to put into the equation what else Ben Stokes brings to the side. He's now opening the bowling. The conditions in Australia, clearly a condition where the first few overs are starting to swing. He's a brilliant swing bowler. He can swing it both ways. So I think that's been a really clever move that England have produced in this World Cup. What he brings in the field, some of his stops and his ability to save probably 5 to 10 runs in the field. So you add that onto his batting and his bowling and his presence. So it's not all about his runs with Ben Stokes, but those numbers are a little bit false in terms of the ability of the player. And usually when it comes to the crunch and when England desperately needs something, and we're in a World Cup, Ben Stokes, you only have to look at his record over the last few years. He generally produces. So it wouldn't surprise me in the next couple of weeks if he suddenly starts to find his T20 batting form, wins England a game or two with the bat, because he's just that kind of personality. But you have to admit that those numbers on paper, as you've just shown on the screen, are not really the numbers of a player that we see in Ben Stokes.
Yeah, they aren't. And especially in a batting lineup that powerful, I think that also affords England the luxury of playing Ben Stokes as well, Zach, because you've got other batters around him. You can give him that kind of time. you can cut him that kind of slack, because the others around him, be it David Malan, Alex Hales, Josh Butler, of course, Liam Livingston, Harry Brook, all of them bat really well. So that cuts Ben Stokes a bit of slack as well.
Also, and his preferred spot is 1, 2, 3. I think, if you ask him, that's the spot he likes to bat at. And Josh Butler did make a statement just before the tournament about maybe going forward in the tournament, they will look to use him as a floater. In certain situations, if they get a great start, they might use him as an impact player who can up the ante in that situation, or keep the momentum of the run rate going. So that is something as a role I see Ben Stokes playing. Plus, he's a good bowler who can provide you with that 5th, 6th bowling option, which again adds to the whole tactical side of things. And he's a brilliant fielder. So in this format, sometimes you got to look at things beyond the numbers. You have to look at the quality of a player and what he brings to the table and how it affects the balance of the team. So the balance of the playing 11 is certainly different when you have a player like Ben Stokes in your side. And that's the way I'm sure everyone is looking at it.
Yeah, that's true. But the one thing that will certainly play in England's favour right now, especially Mark Wood, who we spoke about so much at length, is the fact that it's raining again at Melbourne. They've brought the covers out, but they wouldn't have brought them out just in time for perhaps some of those showers to go on to that track, which means Mark Wood is saying, well, give me the ball, let these showers go and give me the ball. But the one batter who will be facing him, Michael, will be Paul Stirling. I'm sorry I'm jogging your memory back to the 2011 World Cup, that encounter against Ireland, but he's the only survivor from that game. He's still in this Irish team. All right, we've prepared this as well. Oh my God. Okay, so, but Paul Stirling is the only survivor from that game. And what a career he's had. I mean, in T20 I think he's the 5th highest run getter. And even despite that, I mean, the fact that he plays in the county cricket in England, knows a lot about England's domestic circuit, a lot about these players. Tell us a little bit more about that, about Irish players in the English county circuit.
Yeah, we have a number. I mean, you only have to look at who's captained England over the last few years, and that's Owen Morgan, who's come through, obviously, the Irish system. They produced some really good cricketers, and Paul Stirling's right up there. I mean, to think that he was playing in 2011 and we're in 2022 and he's still strolling out there to face the music, it's remarkable, really. He's a real dangerous player. And you would feel that for Ireland to cause a shock today, someone like Stirling today will have to have a day out. I mean, he got a 60-odd not out against the West Indies a couple of games ago when they blew the West Indies away. For the likes of Ireland to compete against the better teams, your real quality, experienced players generally have to have a good day out. And Stirling has been doing his job for a number of years. Over here in county cricket, the 100, he's right up there with the best players who go out to face the new white ball. He's an aggressor. He can hit the ball to all parts. And he deserves a huge amount of credit for longevity, I think, in cricket, for you to play for such a long period of time at the top level. You look at Jimmy Anderson, who's continuing to do it and done it for near on 20 years. It's incredible. And it's also a testament to the fitness level. All right, Paul Stirling doesn't look naturally the fittest, but he obviously does a lot of work to make sure that he's on the pitch. He very rarely misses a game. And he's out there still producing the goods for Ireland. So, he's a tremendous player.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting thing that Michael said there, Zach, that if in the big games you need to have an impact, you need to set the tone right at the start, especially in a game like this against England, you need people like Paul Stirling, like Andrew Balbirnie, who hasn't had the best of times, to really give you that platform.
Exactly. You're showing those numbers of 2011 games, and it was just one man there, who stood in England's way. Kevin O'Brien, he's scoring that 113 runs off just 63 deliveries. Those kind of innings you don't see often. And if you're having a good day out there, you can really have a serious impact and topple any team. So England in that World Cup was a very strong side. And they're able to do that on that particular day. So T20 format, the possibility of that is even higher. So you got to look at it that way, and two batters getting in. I think that's very important. If you're batting first, doesn't matter what the conditions are. You've seen the kind of approach which New Zealand adapted against Australia. It's about who lands that first punch. If you're having that kind of a belief, that kind of a approach, some days it works. So I think that's something which you have to see from Ireland, and for that you have the old horse in Paul Sterling to deliver.
Yeah.
And then you have Harry Tector as well in the middle order, who's been in form. So you need 2 or 3 players to rally around and get to a total, and that total is going to be 160, 165 in 20 overs, and then create that panic in the England batting lineup, get those early breakthroughs in the middle overs, put that pressure. Anything can happen. I know it's not going to be that easy. I know that England side is looking very good, but from Ireland's point of view, I think that's the kind of approach, that's the kind of thinking they should have getting in this game.
I don't think Paul Sterling's going to be very happy that you called him an old horse, because I've just learned that he's just 32 years old. So he's still got a lot of time.
He's been around.
He's been around for a while. Yeah, of course.
He's been around for a long time.
But the one thing, Michael, that we've done ever since that Kohli knock is speak to each of our guests and ask #where were you when Virat Kohli was creating magic at the MCG? What did you think of that knock? Where were you? Where were you watching?
I was actually in Notting Hill in London, and I was with my family just being around. And then we were in a coffee shop, and all of a sudden I had the phone on, started watching, and then we sat there for an hour and 20 minutes. Just sat around the phone watching. It was the atmosphere that came through the phone. It was just remarkable to see the MCG full. It didn't surprise me at all when India play Pakistan. You know it's going to be a sellout, but it was just a great atmosphere, and you just got a feeling early in Virat's ceiling. You just kept thinking, is it going to be Virat again? Now, we've seen it many, many times over the years, not as much of late, but certainly a few years ago, that whatever number he was asked to chase, he just orchestrated a way of knowing how to get that number. And towards the back end there, when the drama started to unfold, and that 6 I hit over long on off Harish Rauf was just spectacular. And to see Virat emotional at the end, I think there was a lot of emotions in that interview. It was probably emotion, obviously winning, the fact that he's got his team over the line. He knows runs haven't been quite as easy to come by in the last year or so. Yes, he didn't get the century. He got one recently, but he'd have loved to get a century to beat Pakistan, but to be there at the end, not out, to orchestrate that pressure, to be under that amount of pressure. And I can't imagine what the pressure's like as an Indian player or a Pakistan player to play against the old rival. I know what it's like to play against Australia, and it's always that much more difficult, and it means that a little bit more. But as I said earlier, India versus Pakistan, it is the biggest game in cricket. Whether we like to wind you up over there to say that England-Australia is the biggest. I think that T20 evening at the MCG just justified the abuse I get on social media by many Pakistani and India fans when they tell me that it is the biggest game. I'm now at the age of 48 this weekend, and I can admit that it is the biggest game.
All right, there you have it. But it really, I mean, the atmosphere, the vibe around it, the vibe post that, the day post that also, because it was on the eve of Diwali, and we were watching it together, Zach, in the green room. 4 former India cricketers, you, Mr. Virender Sehwag, Mr. Ajay Jadeja, Parthiv Patel, and usually in games, in a lot of games that we all watch together, you guys don't, there aren't a lot of nerves because you've been there, you know what's going to happen, you kind of have an idea, you can see a pattern, a trend. But this time around, and I may be wrong, but this time around I thought I saw a bit of nerves, some nerves somewhere there.
Obviously, when you are actually playing the game, there are not many nerves, because you know things are in your control. You can do something to change things. But when you're watching a game of cricket, you actually don't have any control over, and you want your team to win. Then those nerves are different. You do get more jittery, anxious, and those were the things going around. Once that partnership started, you look at how the game went, right? Some 4 wickets losing, 30 for 4, 40 for 4. It's never going to be easy from there against a quality bowling lineup. So that's something which we all knew. The Pakistan bowling is not going to give you a sniff now, and things are only going to get tougher and tougher until you have 2 guys who really believe in it, apply themselves, and do the right things and take those risks as well. Hardik Pandya hitting those sixes in those 12th, 13th over, when it was, things were really started to get tough there. Putting Babar under pressure to use left arm spinner towards the last over. All those things, you got to have that belief, and you got to back your ability. So Virat has known to be a chase master, and when you have this kind of a situation, it really kind of put him in that zone where he was able to deliver. And such a crucial game, because you look at that group, every game, the Pakistan and South Africa game are going to be the most crucial games. And the first game, you knock it off in style, you get those 2 points, and now you know that that the road to the semi-finals is going to be that much easier, or the pressure when you play against South Africa is going to be that much less.
Yeah, it seems clearer in this group than the other one. And Michael, just by the virtue of the fact that the group with Australia, England, and New Zealand, you will have a tougher road to the semi-final. Add to that now the fact that Australia in their first game had a very heavy defeat, something that they've still not been able to recover completely from. That net run rate, that was minus 4.5 something yesterday. It only came to this point because of that blinder of a knock from Marcus Stoinis. These are still early days, I know, but if you had to pick two semi-finalists going out of this group, who would they be right now?
Well, you'd have to say New Zealand have got the noses in front by beating Australia. They were spectacular in the way that they played. And it's a World Cup, and New Zealand generally arrive and play well. So, I think it's going to be between England and Australia. I mean, the two teams that I predicted before the tournament, I thought they might make it to the final, but Australia of late just haven't seemed to be right. They swapped and changed too many players for me in the warm-up games. Didn't quite look right against England. Yesterday I thought they were a little bit stuttery as well, not right at the top of the order, but if they can suddenly start to find a bit of rhythm and form with that bowling attack, with all that pace, clearly they're still going to be a major threat in the tournament. But that game on Friday is going to be massive. England, Australia. Yeah. It could decide who goes through with New Zealand. I mean, New Zealand, they still could stubble. They still could lose to one of the lesser teams. But I just like New Zealand, the way they play the cricket. I think the fact that there is a bit of movement, there has been a bit of swing, I think it helps the New Zealand style of cricket. So I would think with that win against Australia, they're clear favourites now to go through, and that game on Friday becomes a humdinger between England and Australia. Yeah.
You mean the second biggest game in cricket, right? The biggest one.
Definitely it's the second. You can't tell me it's the third. There's no other game that's.
There are some trans-Tasman rivalry fans as well.
India, Pakistan.
Yeah. There's some trans-Tasman rivalry fans as well. I'll direct you to their social media. You guys can figure it out. But Zach, that's so true. I mean, after that win against Australia for New Zealand, that has put them in a very good spot in a very tough group, especially because of that net run rate. Because even if they have an adverse result now, that net run rate might still come to their rescue.
If you are in that group, you can't relax. As simple as that.
Okay.
And it is going to go down to the wire. It is going to go down on the net run rate. And that's where you would say, okay, New Zealand can breathe little easy if they don't have a disaster of a match. They will have that edge with the net run rate. England-Australia game is going to be the biggest game of that group now. There is no doubt about that. Whoever wins that game will possibly be that team which goes through. Still, the second team, you don't know. But as New Zealand plays against Afghanistan and England, then you will get a clearer picture. But if you are in that group, you can't breathe easy. You got to go there knowing that, okay, anything can happen, and you got to make sure you got to keep on pushing. And it's not a bad thing. I think the team which is going to go from here, both the teams to the semis, are going to be better placed because they've already been dealing with that kind of a pressure. When you have it relatively easy, at times it's not easy to just go in that big game, knockout game, and turn up the heat. So I think the teams have it tough in the league stages here, but I think they can have it little easy when they go to the next phase.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Well, right now it's raining. The rain has eased at the MCG. We should have a start real soon. But before that, let's have a look at the joy factor question for the day. What's joy that dealt us with? Is this a tough one? Who is the most recent name in a list featuring Jaydev Unadkat, Vinay Kumar, Karan Sharma and Naman Ojha? Okay. I have no idea. Why can't I crack even one joy factor question? Did you guys have any idea about that? I think I'll take time. I'll read it off air and I think then I'll have an answer.
There are seamers, there are spinners, so you can't really.
There's no pattern. You can't really make a pattern. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live is where you can make a pattern and you can send in your answers. The quickest one wins. But that's all the time we have. Before we go, we have to take score predictions. England bowling first, Ireland batting first on a track that has now seen some rain as well. It's a fresh track. Zach, how many are Ireland making?
I'd go 125.
125. All right. Michael, how about you?
I'm going to go 105.
105. Okay. All right. I see what you did there. 105. Okay. Irish boys, I'm with you. 145 is what I say. 145 is what you're going to get. What do you guys think? Hashtag Cricbuzz Live is where you can send us your score predictions. But that's all the time right now we have on Cricbuzz Live. At the end of 10 overs, we'll of course see you with Cricbuzz Combox. Until then, it's a goodbye. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Michael, for joining in. Have some coffee. Yeah. See you super soon. See you all super soon.